Alright, so this is one that I probably should have made on my old channel. It's my top 50 favorite games as of 2018. So obviously that means I'm going to make one next year. I promise you guys I'm going to make one next year. And I mean, the dude who made the rules, you know. Alright, speaking of rules, so no more than 3 games per series. So the Maddens, Mario Karts, Call of Duty, you know, NHL, etc. You know, stuff like that, like Fallout, for example. Now there is a couple of asterisks. The Mario Brothers games don't count just because there's multiple. A lot of them are in different systems, whereas Madden, Mario Kart, they're released either annually or almost annually, or every 3 years on the same system. So that doesn't really affect, it does affect the next game chronologically, I guess. Whereas like Mario or something wouldn't. Same with the Sonic games, that doesn't count. Um, so I have to explain why I positioned each game. I made this list. There's no right or wrong here. It's totally based on my preference. And remember, you can make one too of your own. This is biased as it is a list made by a person, and it is a subject that cannot have statistics put to it unless I point one out. It's done in 5 parts of 10 games per episode, and games with different variants on mobile platforms and PC and console platforms still count as the same game as long as it is the same title. For example, man, I can't actually think of a good example. Fortnite mobile and Fortnite PC and the console versions would count as the same game. And obviously, dragons of a scale always prevail, guys. Number 50, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transform. Probably isn't one that you even expected to crack the list, but and that name really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But it isn't a great game. In fact, it's pretty not great in comparison to its predecessor, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. I found that game a lot funner just because of the fact that it wasn't all over the place and confusing, and it wasn't sickening to look at half the time. But my guess as to the inspiration of this game is they saw the success that Mario Kart 7 had and basically tried to mimic it with the whole transforming thing and the ability to fly, mimicking the gliding thing, and then the boating acting as the underwater mechanic. So it could have been better, but it definitely could have been worse too. It is a good game. It's not a great game, but it's a good game. However, it barely edged its way onto this list, and I'll tell you what 51 would have been, and that's Super Paper Mario. But this is a solid racing game right here, and actually, it's pretty difficult. But I don't like this one as much as I could. I feel like marketing could have been executed a lot better than it actually was, and I feel like if it was done correctly, it could have appealed to a much wider audience. And there was one thing that I didn't like, and that was the one complaint that a lot of people had with the original game, was that you couldn't switch vehicles, and they made it so you couldn't switch vehicles, and I really didn't like that. That'd have been cool to see like different vehicles in each character's color scheme. But I mean, that's the one thing that kept the first game out of the top 10 was the little room for creativity. So spoiler alert, the first Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing game is on this list. However, it's not in this episode. Another spoiler alert. 49, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Okay, this is a Zelda game that you either love it or you hate it. So you basically think it's either the best one ever released or the worst one ever released. Aside from the jokes of Zelda games they released on CDI, that is, um, I'm the rare breed that's indifferent about it. I mean, I've had limited time playing this game too, so I haven't really had time to get used to it, get all the Easter eggs, stuff like that. Um, or it, like, otherwise it would probably either be in the top 3 or not even on the list. That said, it's definitely a classic. I would have went through hell not putting it on this list, and it was definitely advanced for the time. And it was pretty much strived for what Zelda games eventually would become. Like, for example, what was it? I can't think of the name right now, and I feel really stupid for this, but it's the one where Link gets turned into a wolf. But basically, it definitely made it. It was what other Zelda games eventually aspired to be, and kind of mimicked the camera angles and playstyle off of. That said, it is a good game. Definitely deserve to be on a top 50 list. The thing is I don't own a Nintendo 64 console or even the game. So in all fairness, game didn't really get the shot it deserved with me. So I kind of felt in debt not putting it on this list. So that's exactly what I did. I put it on the list. Number 48, Fortnite Battle Royale. Okay, this game puts me to sleep. I mean, there's not really much to it. A game that has a bunch of guns and raging 9-year-olds that act and sound like raging 9-year-olds or people that act and sound like 9-year-olds is deafening, but it is hilarious. It's amazing comedy. I look forward to more of it in the future, guys. Feel free to hate in the comments. I look forward to it again. People who like sports talk all about bandwagons and how terrible they are, yet they probably play Fortnite 6 hours a day. Give it a year, their metabolism will respond in kind. These bandwagons are terrible, they say. And they go play a video game equivalent of the Carolina Panthers, Dallas Cowboys, or New England Patriots. The art style kind of reminds me of a third grade drawing. I could draw better than that, and I've taken a whopping 1 art class, not counting the ones I took in elementary school. This game is annoying. Alright, let's be real here, Battle Royale's going to die. Number 47, PUBG, the better Battle Royale game. Ah, yes, another Battle Royale game. People say this is the future of video games. They also said that about shooter games, and platformers, and fighting games, and adventure games, and racing games, and stealth games, and flight games, and sports games, and space games, and TV show-based games, and puzzle games. You get it. Battle Royale will suffer the same fate. This is a better version of Fortnite, but half of the game is running. And I mean, again, the same with Fortnite, half the game is running. It's actually somewhat fun, though. It's playable, unlike some other Battle Royale game I just talked about. It's the concept of it all that I don't like. Not that, rather, the community. The community is freaking toxic. It makes League look like a bunch of freaking choir boys. It's stupid, the community. It's basically a minefield trying to find someone with respect or common sense. Just go play Black Ops 2 and you'll thank me later. Number 46, H1Z1. The final Battle Royale game on this list. There will not be another one. Thank God. Okay. This is the best Battle Royale game. It's higher than the other two games, because it actually created the concept. It didn't just steal it from another game because reasons. It didn't provide a cheap alternative to the superior Battle Royale game to make a quick buck. It didn't have a community pissed off toward it because of a misrelease or server problems. It is a game in every sense of the word. That said, it is a Battle Royale game. and this is my channel. That is where the positives end. It didn't release modes like people liked. It didn't release modes people liked only to rip them out of their grasp one short week later. It didn't prolong bad game modes for way too long just because. I actually enjoyed playing this game, unlike the aforementioned social projects that you guys call games. Number 45, Echo the Dolphin. We're reaching way back. This is the oldest game on the list so far. Way back for this one. This game came out between 10 and 13 years before I was even born. I enjoyed this game though, and I'm one of few who currently own a Sega Genesis. I played this game as a kid so much so that the prongs on the bottom of the game cartridge would actually get pushed up when I'd insert the cartridge. I had so many good memories with this game, but it just got passed by fair and square by a lot of other games on this list. You know, I mean, honestly, I still play my Genesis quite a bit, and I have that exact cartridge too. It was fun just to swim around and jump out of the water into the air. Also, sharks made me rage over 9,000 a ton. Mechanics of the game just fascinated me as a kid, and were pretty advanced for its time, honestly, considering there weren't any real huge physics engines. Considering that it was a pretty advanced game, I liked it. It just, again, got passed by. It holds more... Again, this game is probably one that holds a lot more value to me personally than a lot of you, because I would assume a lot of people watching would be a younger audience. That said, anybody who was around that time and it was growing up and they had a Genesis like that and they had Echo, you'll understand what I'm talking about, definitely. Number 44, Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Wow, put this in a basket with Echo the Dolphin. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, that's quite the hop. This game portrayed Dragon Ball Z as good as any other, you know. Just the way it told the tale of the timeline. Say that one 10 times fast. The way it told about the timeline in detail, though, is really cool. The way they incorporated time travel and time patrol into it, and Trunks and everything, with the whole time patrol missions. The way they did that, say Raditz escaping Goku's grasp and Piccolo shooting him with the special beam cannon and killing him, but Raditz getting away, and then you have to go back in time and make things play out as normal. It just seemed really cool, and I didn't play it enough to have it any higher than it is on this list here. It actually has one of the better control analogs in Dragon Ball video games. It featured one of the better storylines, as I said, and instead of really just mimicking the Dragon Ball Z storylines, it actually did feature the true storyline. You had to fix things that went wrong, or distortions in time, stuff like that. All in all, the game was good, but again, due to lack of playtime, it wouldn't have been justified to put it any higher on this list. So, 44, not bad. Number 43, Just Cause 3. I enjoy playing this game because of the randomity, definitely. I can't explain everything because there literally is everything, There's so much in that game. It features everything from simple driving mechanics to freaking grapple guns and building explosions. Literally nothing survives in this game except you. You and your demented lust for destruction and demolition. And that's the best kind of game. It's basically a more realistic GTA 5. It is a very, very good way to create an open world game where you can literally do anything. Because you can't create a game in your wildest dreams where you can realistically say, "Oh, just grapple over to that building and you'll get a better vantage point." It looks clear as day too, and movement's very fluid. There isn't even what feels like to be a nanosecond of delay, but limited exposure and not actually owning the game has forced it down on this list, but I do love the game and the concept. Number 42, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the first GTA game on this list. It had a lot to offer for its time, especially compared to the other options for open world games that existed. And the setting is quite obviously supposed to be Miami, Florida knockoff. But the controls were fluid, especially for an N64 game. And, I mean, it's probably the worst video game controller Nintendo has ever made. It was really the first in-depth look at the other side of those crimes you hear about, even remotely look like. It was literally a day in the life of the criminal. With that said, it was probably the worst GTA I've ever played. That comes with having better controlled, more in-depth sequels in a 24.5-year span. And, aging hasn't done this game well either. It just doesn't look as good as it used to. But it wouldn't make sense to put it any higher on this list, but I couldn't put it any lower either. So for the final game on this list, we got Sonic Adventure. Another one I played a lot of. Again, it was past fair and square. And this is kind of like Zelda Ocarina of Time in the way that you either love this game or you freaking despise it in every way possible. Most of them were... A lot of the glitches in this game were pretty funny. Others made you fall through the ground and made you rage into the next stratosphere. But that, again, it looked absolutely stunning for its time. For a game that came out in, what was that, 2003, 2004 on the Nintendo GameCube. Just the way it looked great. And, so did Sonic 06, but you know how that turned out. I'd much rather play this than Sonic 06, because that was a dumpster fire of a video game. Ooh, Sonic 06. This game was, again, good, but a lot of overused dialogue made it annoying and repetitive and just forced it way down on this list. And again, the glitches, some of which were just minor annoyances, others were game-breaking, and a lot of other ones, too, just made the game impossible to play, depending on what platform you were on. Of course, the Xbox 360 version that they released on the store is not nearly as bad. And, the thing I don't like about it, again, dialogue, Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman, or whatever the fuck he was at that time, his dialogue for every single freaking attack was, "Full systems, full power!" And after playing a full playthrough of this game, it will forever be ingrained into your memories. Little kinks like that, combined with the much bigger glitches, shoved this game down, down, down to the bottom of the sea. I hope I don't get copyrighted by Nickelodeon. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. That's part 1 of my top 50 favorite games. That's 50 through 41. And I'll leave a link in the description to part 2, and probably up there, if I find out how to do that. But that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you do enjoy this video, or if you did enjoy this video, please drop a like. Dragons of a scale always prevail, remember it, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.